Joining us now, Bud Hedinger and Melissa Fox. They are the hosts of Good Morning Orlando from our affiliate, News Radio WFLA in Orlando, and they weathered through now they got to deal with the floods, but they weathered through the winds. And Bud and Melissa, I'm glad that you guys are okay. Give us the latest. What did you experience last night, and what are you looking at this morning?
Well, most of us are seeing the conditions improve right now. We've got flood conditions and standing water everywhere, and in many, many places, Dana, where nobody has ever experienced flooding conditions before. But the issue is for the counties just to the north of Orlando along the beaches, Daytona Beach, New Smyrna Beach. Folks that are familiar with Central Florida will understand what that area is, St. Augustine included. They have this relentless onslaught from onshore winds that are still gusting to near hurricane force, and the rain will not stop there. They're up for another 4 or 5 inches of rain. They'll be closing in on 2 feet of rain in total. That is the worst of the weather now. And in St. Augustine, America's oldest city, A1A, the coastal highway, runs right through there, and you can't see it.
Wow.
The whole area is inundated with water. I'm sure it's freshwater flooding, and it is the sea coming in and over St. Augustine. And it is just a disturbing thing to see how bad it is in those areas. Having said that, the storm is now off the coast of Florida, and it's a good thing that they rolled the moon rocket back from Cape Canaveral to the protection of the Vehicle Assembly Building, because guess what? What is left of Hurricane Ian now, a strong tropical storm, is rolling right over Cape Canaveral and the launch pad area. And it might well, they say, have toppled that rocket on the launch pad had they not made the good decision to bring it back and protect it and wait for that launch perhaps as long as November. So there are bright lights like that, but there are an awful lot of people here who, no matter what decision they would have made, would have been in trouble and are in trouble now. We have 650 to 800,000 people without power in Central Florida, 2.6 million without power around the state of Florida here, and we have water where we've never seen water before. Melissa and I are just absolutely astounded at the scene in downtown Orlando last night. The iconic symbol of our city, called the City Beautiful, is Lake Eola, and this incredible fountain in the middle of it. You're familiar with that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
The beautiful lighted fountain at night. Lake Eola flooded last night and flooded the streets of downtown Orlando. Nobody can remember that ever happening before, Dana.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That is absolutely, that is historic. Melissa?
Oh. Yeah, I'm just saying that the wind is still kicking around out here. We've got a lot of residual stuff. And we had a little scare earlier this morning when we were told that there was a band, an outside band that was just sitting right here on Central Florida, which it was. But then it was sort of more of a wobble, and it kind of moved along, which was a really nice thing, because we're like, no, this is not good. We cannot do this.
Yeah, It went on, and it was the kind of thing they're still dealing with in those coastal beach counties to the northeast of here. It's just a horrible situation. We have the St. Johns River here, which is where all the water winds up, and it winds its way slowly through Florida from south to north, kind of an unusual flow for a river. Few rivers do that. And it's already 3 feet over flood stage, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in the St. John's, that is a huge deal.
Major deal.
Yeah, Lake Jessup. Now I don't know. That's like this big bridge that we pass over. We call it St. John's Bridge, and Lake Jessup is filled with alligators, which are now. Coming up onto the highway the surges.
You read my mind, because I was literally going to ask you that after I saw a video of a shark actually in a street.
Yep, that, we cannot confirm or deny whether that was a created video, but I can tell you that gators are running around. Matter of fact, Bud had one in his backyard.
Oh, we got the mother of all gators in our backyard, our neighbor says. I mean, I haven't been home in 3 days, but doing all of this storm coverage here, but the neighbor says there's this enormous alligator out there. We live on a golf course, and there's a water hazard that's part of the golf course, and it is... it swells up in a thunderstorm, Dana, but now it has completely covered the fairway of the golf course and come halfway up a long distance to our house, and an alligator is having the run of things in the backyard right now. I mean, enough with this. Enough with the critters,
But I can't even imagine. I mean, I thought about that last night. Like, I bet there's some alligators to worry about. We're talking to Bud Hedinger and Melissa Fox, the host of Good Morning Orlando from News Radio at WFLA. Stay away from the gators, obviously, which I know y'all will. You guys are resilient. You've ridden out stuff like this before. You've been through this before. I know too, people are just now kind of being able to assess the damages. I saw the destruction on beautiful Sanibel Island. I was looking at the flooding in Fort Myers. I know it's going to be significant, massive, catastrophic damage. There seems to be, and this is completely understandable considering the circumstances. You know, I'm praying for just the absolute no fatalities at all whatsoever. I think there were 2 confirmed, but nobody knows. Nobody really knows at this point yet. Correct?
Right. The only 2 I know of, but the one is the guy who died in the canal draining his pool after we repeatedly said, please don't drain your pool. It's a natural thing, unfortunately. And then there was a car accident, I think hydroplaning yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, they're kind of indirect effects of the storm here. But I think when you look at the situation in southwest Florida, Fort Myers, Sanibel Island, Captiva, an absolutely idyllic setting down there. It's a beautiful part of Florida, as I'm sure you know. And the storm, the eye wall came right in there and began the whole storm's march through the heart of the Florida Peninsula in our direction. 155-mile-an-hour sustained winds with higher gusts. And it took its sweet time coming onshore, and it just carved that area up unmercifully. And it was sad and it was frightening to think that they had a hospital with its intensive care unit roof torn off by the storm down in Fort Myers, exposing the sickest of their patients to the ravages of a borderline Category 5 hurricane. You talk about hell on earth, that's it. And people also who did not evacuate because they'd not had serious flooding problems before, whatever the reason happened to be, or they're just stubborn, suddenly were placing panic calls through social media into 911, come rescue me, I'm on the 2nd floor, I'm clambering into the attic, I'm going to try to get myself onto the roof and survive this thing. And at that particular point in time, there was no way that the emergency management officials could get rescue crews out to these people because the conditions were absolutely intolerable. It was a terrible, terrible situation in southwest Florida. So while we have a situation here that is a disaster on its own, you know, we didn't have the killer winds here. We've got historic flooding, but they've had it all in southwest Florida at a level I don't think we've ever seen here. And if it hasn't happened in Florida, it probably hasn't happened anywhere when it comes to tropical situations.
That's a great
I'm
point.
sure you want your listeners want to know how to help out people.
Yes, I was going to ask.
Right. The best thing is not to send anything, but rather to look up your local, Red Cross and FEMA and see what you can do there. There's always options to help out. But a lot of people want to send items, and it's just no good. Donate to the animal hospitals, things like that, if you want to help out.
That's a very good point. Yeah, they don't need an influx of items that they have to deal with and sort and all of that right now. Work through the groups that are there and prepared and have those supply lines open and are on the ground. Bud Hedinger and Melissa Fox, Good Morning Orlando from News Radio WFLA. We are so glad that y'all made it through and that you are there providing ongoing coverage for all of the people in Central Florida. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and I appreciate it. I'm glad you're all okay. I hope the flooding spared you.
Thanks for having us on. We love you, Dana.
Of course.
Thank you.
We love you. Thanks, guys.